Hi, my name is Phil. I like talking about politics. In this video, I'd like to discuss the damaging effects of statements made recently by the Chancellor Sajid Javid and how badly it could affect confidence and, as a result, the economy before Brexit even begins to properly kick in. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and political commentary, then please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So, if 2019 taught us anything, and it should have taught us a great deal, it is that loose tongues cost lives. Both Boris Johnson and Donald Trump demonstrated adequately the seismic effects of poorly chosen words, with both exerting major influences on their respective nations' economies, with simple public statements that in turns encouraged and alarmed investors depending on what they were saying. With Boris Johnson's epic win last month, there were those who thought that somehow he would have no more need of posturing. With that much power, he could actually just get down to business and start behaving sensibly. I had to raise an eyebrow at that thought, but it is now quite clearly nothing could be further from the truth. And now the Chancellor, Sajid Javid, who sold his soul for the most senior position in cabinet, save only for the Prime Minister, has joined in on the act as well. And bear in mind that although Javid was hardly a card-carrying Europhile, he did speak out against leaving the EU on the basis that it would be economically harmful to the UK. So regardless of what others may genuinely think of Brexit, this is a man who is firmly of the view that a hard Brexit in particular is a disastrous outcome for Britain. And this is not something that he's slowly changed his view on. This was his position right up until Boris Johnson became Prime Minister and offered him the job of Chancellor. So when he made the statements that we are leaving the EU under a hard Brexit, you know he is not one of the deluded who is genuinely unaware of how dangerous such a statement is. He knows, he just doesn't care. And it's not crystal clear that the government do either. In fact, what is crystal clear is that the government are running us towards a no deal now. It always seemed clear to me, but there was always that element of doubt how much of it is just posturing to keep their backbenchers on side until it was too late. Now it seems clear, no, they are actually going for a no deal. It seemed evident from statements as well as actions before, but now the Chancellor has said as much. And remember, he would not say this without being prompted to do so by the Prime Minister, because he is not of the view that this is good for the country. He said, and I quote, "There will not be alignment. We will not be a rule taker. We will not be in the single market, and we will not be in the customs union, and we will do this by the end of the year." So in attacking businesses who complained about the effects that this would have on most of the economy of the UK, he simply responded with, and again I quote, "We're talking about companies that have known since 2016 that we are leaving the EU." Except this is a deliberate lie. In 2016, everyone, even the most crazed Brexiteer, was saying, of course we're going to be in the single market. They even said, they used the word, it would be madness to leave the single market. That's what they were all saying. In fact, it's only in recent months that this policy has openly changed, though Theresa May's red lines put it in severe doubt in the second half of 2018. But even that was long after the referendum, and Parliament at the time was making it clear that they would not accept that form of Brexit. So to suggest that businesses somehow have had time to adapt to this is a complete nonsense for two major reasons. One, openly advocating a hard Brexit has only become official policy literally in the last week. Before that, Boris Johnson was saying, of course, he's going to get a comprehensive deal. Actually, he is still saying it, but if we're not going to be a rule taker, then it's words only. If we're not going to be in the single market, then what sort of deal does he even want? You know, there isn't a full trade deal in the world where there aren't rules taken, you know, as a compromise with the other side. You always have to adopt at least some rules for the other side. And we're going to be taking plenty of rules from the US, by the way. So it's a double lie, this, we're not going to be a rule taker. The second major reason is, how do you adapt to having no customers? Remember that 80% of the UK economy is the service sector. You know, a bulk of that is dealing with the EU in some way. And in addition of the remaining 20% of our economy, that's the trading goods. Half of it is with the EU. And for those who still think somehow we'll compensate for that lost trade elsewhere, it should be borne in mind that nothing about a no deal with the EU makes it easier to trade outside of the EU. In fact, it makes it much more difficult. You know, those precious WTO terms offer little to no protection for trading services. WTO terms are essentially about trading goods. Well, remember, that's a fifth of our economy. So the official line of government now is access to the single market, or no access to the single market rather, no customs union, which of course means, amongst other things, checks between Northern Ireland and Great Britain. So a full hard border inside the United Kingdom, whilst it remains the United Kingdom. No trade deal with the EU at all. If we're lucky, we may agree a less controversial deal on areas such as security and defence. Be better than nothing, I suppose, but won't really do anything to help our economy, to help jobs, to help the NHS. And the greater problem is that it isn't just a case of waiting to see if they're bluffing by the end of 2020. Just saying this and acting like they mean it won't work to scare the EU, but it will work to scare investors in the UK. We've seen this. Every time last year someone in government said something stupid about a Brexit intention, what happened? Value of the pound went down. Investors were scared off. Every time something positive happened, went up. And the same will happen in 2020. You know, the Chancellor has just basically told every business that is operating in this country that European markets are going to be severely limited, cut off for many, without any of the current protections at the end of 2020, or even by the end of 2020. They could finish the transition period early. Sajid Javid is telling these companies to adapt. Well, the ones who are big enough to do so will do so by following the lead of others and investing elsewhere. If you thought the exodus of foreign and British investment in the UK was bad in 2019, where things were simply in the balance, think how bad it will be in 2020 when the government is essentially telling these multinationals to piss off out the country and telling the ones who are sort of stuck in this country, you're going to go under. So I hope you found the video interesting. If you did, don't forget to click the like button. And if you'd like to support the channel further, then please also click the Patreon link for details. And until next time, I'll see you later.